Our objective for today is I can solve word problems using model drawing. So we've already solved the word problems by drawing pictures and also using a number bond. So today we're going to try it one more way, and this is using model drawing. So what is model drawing and why do we use it? Model drawing is a system that we use for solving word problems or story problems. And we start using it now in second grade. And this is a system for solving these that you can use all the way into high school when you get into algebra. This system allows you to visualize the problem. So it sets it up that it kind of looks like a picture, but instead of drawing pictures like we did earlier in the week, we use rectangles to represent groups of numbers. And so this helps it keep it really organized, and we can figure out the relationship between the different numbers that we have in our problem. And so it's really important to start using it now on our problems that are more simple, because as the problems get more complex, this system still works with them and it can help you stay organized when you're solving it. So with our model drawing, there are some different steps to it. So we have this poster and it's called the 8 Steps of Model Drawing. Now I make a little bit of changes to this when I am teaching it because for me, it's really hard to remember these 8 steps. So I came up with a saying years ago, and actually my students in the class came up with this saying, and I still use it today because it's what helps me remember all of the steps. So the saying that I use to do this is real wise workers do problems, quit complaining about it, silly. And so I'm going to go through each of these steps and I'm going to use my saying to help you remember it, and then we're going to practice it today. So our first step of model drawing is to read the problem. So my saying, I say real, and that R in real stands for read the problem. So the next step, decide who is involved in the problem. So my saying is real wise, so my W in wise stands for who. Next comes the what, decide what is involved in the problem. So my saying real wise workers, my W in workers stands for what. The next step is to draw our unit bar. So real wise workers do, our D stands for draw unit bars, and we do draw these of equal length, and I'll show you that today. So the next step, this is where I use something a little bit different. So number 5 is read each sentence one at a time, but I actually put it as P for problems because it's plugging in the information. So just like the past couple days when we would read sentence by sentence and then plug those numbers into either our picture or our number bond, we're going to do the same thing with model drawing. So instead of an R for read, I use a P for plug in the information. Next is our Q, put the question mark in place. So my saying goes real wise workers do problems, quit for question mark, QQ. Next is our C for complaining. So work the computation to the side or underneath. So real wise workers do problems, quit complaining. The C stands for computation, and that's just your number sentence. It's the problem that you're going to solve. So for example, when we were drawing our picture or when we were doing our number bond, we also had our number sentence. And so that's what our computation is. And then it's the last part. And this I actually put as 2 different parts. So number 8 is answer the question in a complete sentence. So I have the A for about it, which is answer. But then we added one more because we would always forget our very last step, which is in here, which is a complete sentence. So we added in silly for the S so that we could remember sentence. So the saying that I use every time when I'm doing model drawing is real wise workers do problems, quit complaining about it, silly. And it's kind of long, but the fact that we do it so often, It makes it a lot easier to remember. And what I do as I'm setting up my problem, I write all these letters going down the side, and then I check mark each one as I'm doing it so that I know that I completed each and every step. So when we're doing model drawing, you just have to remember real wise workers do problems. Quit complaining about it, silly. All right, let's go on to some examples so you can see these steps in action. So here we have our example, and you can see down the side, I have all of the steps for model drawing. So real wise workers do problems, quit complaining about it, silly. So we're going to go through each step, and as we complete them, we're going to check mark them so that we know we finished them. So the R stands for read the problem. So let's go ahead and read it. Zane and Nico were both growing trees. Zane grew 6 trees. Nico grew 12 trees. How many trees did they grow all together? All right, so we finished that step, so let's check mark it. Now the next step is the first W, and I remember that the first W stands for who. So I have 2 people in my word problem, and they are Zane and Nico. So I'm going to write their names down. And now I can check mark my first W because I did the who. The next W is the what. So what do Zane and Nico have? Well, if I look back to our problem, I know that they both have trees. So I'm going to put Zane's trees, and I'm also going to put Nico's trees. And now I can check mark my second W. So now to the D, and I remember that the D stands for draw, and I'm going to draw unit bars. And remember, when I'm drawing my unit bars, I make them the same size. All right, so there are my unit bars. Check mark the D. And now I go to the P, and the P stands for plug in information. So I'm going to read sentence by sentence to figure out what information I need in order to solve my problem. And my question is asking how many trees did they grow all together? So my first sentence says Zane and Nico were both growing trees. Is there any information I need from that to plug it into my unit bars? Nope. So let's move to our next sentence. It says Zane grew 6 trees. Oh, that is important. I need to know that Zane grew 6 trees. So I'm going to put a 6 in Zane's unit bar. Now let's keep reading. Nico grew 12 trees. Ooh, that's also important. So I'm going to put my 12 in Nico's unit bar. But remember how I drew these unit bars to be the same size? Well, I know that 6 is not equal to 12. So what I need to do is I need to cross out some of Zane's unit bars so I can see that his is actually smaller than Nico's. There we go. So now I have it represented a little bit better. So now I can check mark my P because I can see that my last sentence is my question sentence. I can see my question mark at the end. So I know that's going to go with my Q for my question mark. So it asks, how many trees did they grow all together? So I want to know the total between the two of them. So I'm going to connect the 2 unit bars out to the side and put my question mark out here because I want to know all together how many did they grow. Now, in my mind, this does look a little bit like a number bond. It's on its side. So I'm going to draw it as a number bond too because that helps me know what operation to draw. So here, see how it's my number bond? And then my whole would be this question mark. And then my 2 parts, I would have the 6 and the 12. So we talked a lot about it in our previous lessons, how if we have a number bond and we're missing the whole, then we know we need to add my 2 parts. So I put my question mark, and that helps me with my computation. Because remember, my computation is my number sentence. So if I'm adding together my 2 parts, my computation is going to be 6 plus 12 equals, and now what is my answer for 6 plus 12? Well, it's 18. So now I have my answer, but I'm not done yet because I still need to do my sentence. So I look back to my question in order to help me know what my sentence should be. So my question is, how many trees did they grow all together? So I'm going to turn that around in order to answer that. So I'm going to say, they grew 18 trees all together. All right, and now I can check off my S, and now I can see I have all my check marks. So I am done with this problem. You ready to move on to another one? This one you're going to do with me. So go ahead and grab your piece of paper, grab a pencil, and I want you to write the steps going down the side of your paper so you can check them off with me as we go. So you're going to write R, W, W, D, P, Q, C, A, S. Remember that stands for real, wise workers, do problems, quit complaining about it, silly. All right, so now that you have all those steps written down the side, our first step is the R, and that means read the problem. So go ahead and read this one with me. Sydney had 32 books. Her mom gave her 12 more books. How many books does Sydney have now? All right, we read our problem, so we can check mark the R. And now we're to the first W. And remember, this is the who. So we have to think, who is in our problem? Well, we kind of have 2 people, don't we? We have Sydney, and we also have her mom. But her mom isn't in the question, so I don't know that she needs her own unit bar because all her mom is doing is giving more to Sydney. So we only actually need 1 unit bar for Sydney. So let's go ahead and write Sydney's name down. All right. And now we can do our what, because that's our next W. So what does Sydney have? Well, Sydney has books. So we're going to put the apostrophe S, and we're going to write books. All right, now my next step is the D, and remember that stands for draw. So I'm going to draw Sydney's unit bar. All right, so because there's only 1 person, it's just going to be 1 size. So make sure you draw her unit bar just as a rectangle, and then you can check mark the D. All right, so next we are going to start plugging in the information for that P. So when we plug in the information, we're going to read sentence by sentence. So Sydney had 32 books. Oh, that's important information, isn't it? We're going to take our 32, and we know that's how many books Sydney has. So we're going to plug it into our unit bar. All right, let's read our next sentence. Her mom gave her 12 more books. Ooh, so if she's getting even more, we can add on to our unit bar to make it even bigger to show that she's getting more. And we're going to put her 12 more in there. All right, so now I'm up to my question sentence. So I know I finished plugging in my information. And now I'm going to put in my question mark. So it says, how many books does Sydney have now? So I want to know what she started with, the 32, plus what her mom gave her, the 12. How many does she have total? All right, do you see our number bond again? Let's draw our number bond. Now it's upside down, isn't it? So my question mark, is in my hole again. And then I have my two parts, my 32 and my 12. All right, so I already did my question mark. And now my number bond helps me set up for my computation because again, I'm missing my whole. So I know if I'm missing my whole, I need to add my two parts. So again, it's going to be addition. So I'm going to add 32 plus 12. And I'm going to solve this using the algorithm. I have it nice and lined up and set up for that. But you may choose how you would like to set it up. If you want to do it in the hundreds, tens, and ones chart, you may do that. So go ahead and solve 32 plus 12, and then come back and check your answer with me, okay? All right, so I am going to start by adding my ones, 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Next, I'm going to add my tens, 3 plus 1. 3 plus 1 equals 4. So my answer is 44. Oh, I need to come back and check mark some of these. So my computation was 32 plus 12. Check, I did it. My answer is 44. Check, I did it. So now it's time for this last one, which is to write my sentence. So my question said, how many books does Sydney have now? So I'm going to turn that around and I'm going to say, Sydney has 44 books now. All right, go ahead and finish writing your sentence. Make sure you started with a capital letter. Make sure you ended with a period. And awesome job today. All right, now that we've done some practice with our model drawing, your independent practice today is just going to be this number search. We're going to take a little break for right now just with our word problems. We'll come back to it tomorrow. And instead, you're just going to practice your addition facts. So just like word searches where you have to find different words hidden, this is a number search. So you have to find different addition sentences, number sentences, within this whole big group of numbers. So they did this first one for you. So this first one, it says 8 plus 5 equals. So they found it and they circled it for you. 8 plus 5 equals, and it even has the right sum. So 8 plus 5 equals 13. So they circled all of those all together. You add in the little plus sign and the equal, and then you can also write your sum over here. So the next one that you have to find is 1 plus 7 equals. So what I would do is I would write the sum first, 8, and then I have to look for the numbers 1, 7, and 8 all in a row. So they could be going side to side, or they could be going up and down. So you're looking for 1, 7, and 8 all in a row. And you know what? I found it right here. Do you see my 1, my 7, and my 8? So what I would do is I would circle those. I would add in my plus sign and my equal sign, and then that one's done. And now you would move on to 9 plus 6. All right, have fun. This is another thing. It doesn't need to be turned in on Edgenuity. This is just for your practice so that you can get even more work with your math facts.